Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be day 4 of the 12 Days of Litmus. The 12 Days of Litmus was created by Adrian from Strip Cover Lit. I will, as always, link his announcement video below. And day 4's prompt is to name your favorite novel. If you've seen any of the tag videos that I've done on this channel, you'll know that I alternate between about 5 different novels when I'm asked to name my favorite novel. But this is the one of those 5 that has probably been my favorite since I was 14 or 15 years old. I am going to hold up All Quiet on the Western Front, or Im Westen nichts Neues. On the cover of the English edition here, it says the greatest war novel of all time. Now I'm sure some people would take issue with that and will argue for something else, but this is definitely a book that I assume most people have heard of. There was a very famous film version of this that was made in 1930. There was a TV miniseries of this that was made in 1979. When I was in school, we actually watched part of that miniseries as part of a history class, and it got me curious enough that I wanted to know more of the story. And I went and took this book out of my school library, and I was so enthralled with it that I basically stole it from the school library and kept it for a year and a half. I later discovered the German original at my actual public library, and then I stole that for about a year. I eventually bought copies of both, but this is genuinely a book that I have read at least once a year since I was 14 or 15 years old. If you are not familiar with this, it is the story of a group of friends who sign up for an adventure at the beginning of the First World War. They are in the German army. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say everyone ends up dead or disabled. That kind of goes hand in hand with being an anti-war novel. Although, to be fair, can you have an anti-war novel? Is it like Truffaut said, that it's impossible to make an anti-war film? Actually, I'm not sure that he actually said that. It might not be related, but I'm going to look up the actual quote, because I read somewhere recently that he didn't actually say it's impossible to make an anti-war film. Okay. So he said something similar, but not exactly that. So this was in an interview with Gene Siskel of Siskel and Ebert fame. And here we go. So what Truffaut actually said is, I find that violence is very ambiguous in movies. For example, some films claim to be anti-war, but I don't think I've ever really seen an anti-war film. Every film about war ends up being pro-war. So I don't know if that can be said to be true of novels as well, or of just fiction in general, or storytelling in general, which is maybe possible. I don't know, you can make that argument in both cases. If I'd been better prepared for this, I would have found the page that has my favorite section, which is a part where the main character, Paul, is in hospital after having been injured, and he is walking among the wards, and he's listing all the types of injuries one can have. And it's almost poetic, or it's almost like when you see religious people who are doing chants of the 99 names of God, or the litany of the saints, or something like that. And it's almost like that, except it's about war wounds, which I think is very interesting. This was definitely the book that got me interested in reading more First World War writing, and, you know, started me on a lifetime obsession of this, where, you know, when I show up at relatives' houses, that, for example, when I was visiting my uncle over the summer, and he said, I am not driving you to Ypres this time. And I definitely blame this on the fact that I spent the other 2 prompts talking about First World War writing. I blame this on the fact that I've been playing Battlefield 1 the past week, which does do a good job of being depressing. There's an introductory section in this where you start, I mean, it's a shooter, so you don't expect to be burnt alive in the introductory section, and yet that happens. So, and I think this is one of the reasons that popular culture says that a game like this is not going to be like the games set in modern wars or in the Second World War, and just has to be this depressing mass of death and misery and mud. Alright, that was weird and rambly, so I should stop rambling now. That's day 4. I think tomorrow will be the last time I talk about First World War writing. Probably. So, let's keep our fingers crossed for that. That's it for now. Ciao.